So today's soap is 100% unplanned. That's why I'm wiping out my molds, because I was not planning on making the soap, and I just want to make sure that they're nice and clean. So the soap batter I'm using here, you can see it's almost solidified in the bowl here. It's from another project I was working on. It's just leftovers. But by the time I got to get to it, it was starting to set up and got very hard. When soap does this, if you stir it around really good, you can kind of agitate those crystals that are starting to line up and form solid soap and get it back into somewhat of a malleable soap. Somewhat. So on a wing and a prayer, I'm going to glop this into this mold, knowing I'm going to be getting air bubbles, but I don't want to waste this soap. It smells divine. This soap is scented with fresh strawberry, fresh blueberry, and juicy pear. It smells so yummy. I love it. So it's worth it. It's worth it to try to turn it into something beautiful and usable. Although I don't know that I'm going to be able to do that this time around. I managed to get all of that soap into the mold, and I'm going to attempt to do some pretty piping on top, but you'll see here, this is not going to work. Just watch. Look how hard I have to squeeze it. Like, you'll see my hands shaking as I'm trying to get this semi-solid soap out of a piping tube. Yeah, it's just not looking good. Do you ever have those moments in life where you're just like, why am I bothering? I should just give up now. Like, this is obviously going to fail. Why waste my time completing a failure, right? But soap is a good reminder to me to just never give up, because if you give up, you guarantee failure. Whereas if you just continue to push through, sometimes you can get something good out of it. And I think I got something good out of this soap. It's not going to be perfect, but I managed to save a really good quality soap that smells really good and doesn't look half bad. Although right now it definitely looks more than half bad. At this point, I'm just trying to get the rest of the soap on there. And then I try to go for kind of a Betty Crocker Zen moment. I don't know how many of you were kids in the 80s, but there was that Betty Crocker chocolate cake, chocolate frosting commercial where they would, just move a spoon around frosting and it looked perfect and gorgeous. So to kind of recover from the frustration and physical exertion of trying to get soap in the mold, I just sat there for a long time, just replaying that happy commercial in my head, telling myself not to give up. And it definitely did not look like a beautiful Betty Crocker chocolate cake. I was never good at that frosting technique. But luckily, I have some embeds. I love making soap embeds. They're so nice for saving, weird-looking soaps. But these are soap dough that was left over from my Wedding Favors soap. I made a lot of soap dough from that one because we had a lot of seized-up soap. So these are scented in plumeria. And I think they look really good. I have these succulents that I tried to make multi-toned, and then along with the succulents, which is perfect for the scent of this soap, I made some raspberries and blueberries. At the time, I had no clue what I would use these embeds for, so it was just kismet. It was meant to be, berry-scented soap with little berries and succulents. So I just add those all around, trying to fill in the gaps, making sure that I press the embeds in far enough that they'll stick. This is one thing about embeds. If your embeds are fully cured, which these are, I've had these embeds for over a month and a half now, so they're really hard. If you don't get them firmly embedded in the soap, they can pop off. The soap batter I'm putting them on is also really set up and hard, so it's also not going to want to accept another form of soap, especially a hard one. So I really have to make sure that I push those embeds down far enough that the soap can grip them and hold on to them so that they don't pop off when I do the cutting, which has happened to me before. And that's one of the most frustrating things, is when you have a beautiful top and then your embeds start popping off. So I'm just going to fill this up. At the time, I'm trying to think of what am I going to name this soap? Because, succulents and berries don't normally go together. But then I thought of the word succulent, and it all just suddenly made sense. So here's my beautiful soap. The next day I bring it in to be cut, and of course, air bubbles. I knew there would be air bubbles. I'm not surprised by the air bubbles. I'm a little saddened by the air bubbles. Look, they're everywhere. But as I've shown before, you can always fill air bubbles with soap dough from the end pieces of the bar. And that's what I'm going to do with this one. We have to remember that the embeds are hard, so I'm going to have to cut super slow, applying very even but methodical pressure. This is really hard to do. It's not visible on camera, but my arms ache after cutting a bar like this. But we get all the way through it, no problems, no broken wires, and here's the inside. It's simple. It's beautiful, it smells great, and yes, there are air holes everywhere. But the interesting thing is most of the air bubbles are in the piping area, which was to be expected because there's gaps from all those ridges and everything. So it's imperfect. It wasn't planned, but it's a great bar of soap. I actually really, really love this soap. It smells, like I said before, it just smells great. Berries and pears. It's just one of those bars that you just want to keep sniffing because it smells so good. So then I decide on my name. I decide I'm going to call this Succulent Berry because it does. It smells juicy and succulent and yummy. So it turned out perfect. This little play on words with the improvised succulent embed. Just another example as to why you should never give up on things just because it's hard or you think it's going to fail. If something's going to fail, let it fail on its own. Don't help it along. So thanks for watching me make Succulent Berry Soap.